For most of us, the world seems clear. We are born, given names, and become part of a family. But for some, before even receiving a name, a price is placed on their existence. Imagine that, your very life, your identity, being a commodity. This may sound like something out of a suspense thriller, but it's the chilling reality that unfolded just last year on March 1st in Daegu, South Korea. The story begins with a 30-something pregnant woman being rushed to a university hospital in labor. Today, let's dive into the dark world where newborn babies are turned into commodities, a black market that has shocked Koreans. Amid the flurry of activity, the tense urgency of the situation as doctors rush a woman to the delivery room, a baby boy is born via C-section. But the newborn, though fragile, is sent to the neonatal intensive care unit for extra care, leaving the mother to recover from surgery. So far, this seems like a standard, if stressful, hospital experience. 6 days later, the mother, Miss Park, is discharged. Her baby, though, remains in the NICU. She's anxious, worried like any parent, but she leaves. Fast forward to March 13th, just a week later, Miss Park returns, saying she's come to take her baby home. But here's where things start to feel off. The hospital staff notices something strange. It's one of those moments where you stop and do a double take. There's something wrong with Miss Park. She looks different. One of the staff members recalled later that there was a significant difference in physique between the person who came claiming to be the mother and the woman who gave birth. And it wasn't just about her size or appearance. Something deeper felt wrong. Even the attending doctor, someone who had seen hundreds, maybe thousands of mothers and babies, knew that something wasn't right. The doctor asked her, "Are you really the mother?" The woman didn't hesitate. She insisted she was the baby's mother. And here's where the moment becomes even stranger. The doctor, perhaps a little tired but definitely alert, asked a simple but sharp question. "Then who am I?" The woman couldn't answer. She stood there, exposed. Pressed further by the hospital staff, she finally broke down. "Actually, I'm her sister," she admitted, quickly claiming she didn't feel well. She complained of a headache, chest pain, and just like that, she vanished, leaving the hospital in a hurry. But the staff knew something wasn't right and immediately reported the incident to the police. So, who was this woman, really? What was her plan? And why pretend to be someone else, let alone a baby's mother? Miss Park, the woman pretending to be the mother, had a story ready when questioned. According to her, she was merely helping a close friend, the baby's real mother, who had no health insurance and needed emergency care. It all seemed almost noble on the surface. Miss Park claimed that in an act of kindness, she lent her name for the hospital records. It wasn't just a favor. She and her husband had gone as far as filing the birth registration, officially listing the baby as their own. But something didn't quite add up. What was really going on behind this act of charity? When the authorities dug deeper and asked Miss Park more specific questions about the situation, her responses became evasive. An investigation followed, and what the authorities found was far more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. Digital evidence unraveled a chilling timeline. From September 2020 to March of last year, almost 3 years, Miss Park had been buying newborns, not just helping desperate mothers in emergencies. 4 babies, to be exact. using the same method each time. Each of those babies passed through her hands, stripped of their real identities before being adopted by others. And she was just getting started. There was even an attempt to buy a fifth child, though this time her plan fell through. What began as a suspicious hospital visit turned into the discovery of a baby trafficking scheme, an underworld of deception where infants were treated as commodities. The police confirmed of 4 cases of child trafficking, with approximately 13 million Korean won, which is around $10,000, changing hands during these transactions. But it wasn't as simple as someone outright offering to buy a baby. The traffickers didn't knock on doors, offering cash in exchange for a newborn. Instead, they cloaked their intentions under the guise of helping. Struggling mothers were approached with offers of financial support. Miss Park, at the center of it all, had a strategy. She didn't just target any pregnant women. She specifically sought out those overwhelmed by the struggles of childbirth or childcare. Imagine being a mother, unsure how to make ends meet when someone swoops in offering help. But Miss Park's help came with strings attached. She'd offered to register the babies under her name, using identity swaps and outright purchases from single mothers. These children were then funneled into the arms of infertile couples, desperate for a child. One accomplice, a woman in her 30s, referred to as Ms. A, was also arrested and indicted. It wasn't just a one-woman operation. This was bigger than anyone had imagined. The law finally caught up with Miss Park. By June of last year, she was indicted on charges of child trafficking. Fast forward to February, and she's facing a 5-year prison sentence. 3 to 4 of her acquaintances were also pulled into the legal net. Each had a role to play, some as intermediaries or facilitators, smoothing the way for these illegal transactions. Ms. Park's deception didn't stop at the South Korean borders. She even took her scheme across the ocean. When a Canadian couple posted online about wanting to adopt, Ms. Park pounced. She posed as a single mother, pretending she couldn't raise her child. Then she found a pregnant woman who couldn't care for her baby and had the child registered under her own name after its birth. From there, she passed the baby onto the infertile couple. But here's where the legal loophole comes in. By registering the child as her own, Ms. Park claimed that the baby was the result of an affair between her and the infertile couple's husband. This effectively sidestepped the lengthy legal adoption process. The baby, now registered as the husband's illegitimate child, could be easily adopted by his wife. And just like that, the Canadian couple became the child's legal parents, with no red tape to navigate. During this international transaction, Ms. Park received 7 million Korean won, which is around $5,300 as a postnatal care fee. Over time, she repeated this method with 4 different babies, raking in approximately 15 million Korean won, which is around $11,300 in hospital and living expenses. Ms. Park strongly denied that any of this was part of an illegal operation. She claimed it was all done out of goodwill, as if she were performing a public service. She insisted that if she hadn't helped and left the single mothers to raise their babies alone, the children would have been at greater risk. In her mind, she wasn't trafficking babies. She was giving them a better chance at life. But was she really helping? Or was this just a convenient justification for a crime that exploited vulnerable mothers and their children? There was another shocking revelation. Later, it was a text message that exposed her past as a surrogate mother. In March 2020, before she was even married to her current husband, Ms. Park made a deal with an infertile couple she found online. The exchange was 55 million Korean won, around $41,500 US to serve as their surrogate. Ms. Pak used the couple's details throughout her pregnancy and even during the child's birth. This allowed the couple to bypass legal hurdles, registering the baby as their own without raising any red flags. Over time, she had mastered the art of slipping under the radar, exploiting legal loopholes to build an illegal business of surrogacy and child trafficking. From the perspective of the children involved, the situation is a tragedy. The children's basic rights to grow up with their biological parents, to form a family with those who love them, were stripped away. An expert pointed out that the claim that no one was harmed completely disregards the children's rights and their existence. It's not just about what happens to the mothers and the money exchanged. It's about the stolen futures of these children. On the surface, Ms. Pak presented herself as a savior, a woman who stepped in to help struggling mothers and give babies a better life. Ms. Pak may have seen herself as a hero, but her actions were self-serving and manipulative. Whether she truly believed in her role as a rescuer or simply used it as a shield for her crimes is the critical question. So let's take a closer look at the unsettling world of illegal adoption networks, where Ms. Pak's operations are just the beginning. Korean broadcaster SBS's investigative program, Unanswered Questions, uncovered even more disturbing evidence of a thriving black market for babies online. When the production team posed as a struggling single mother, they were quickly overwhelmed with responses from people eager to adopt. One of the most striking replies came from a young man in his 20s, supposedly a university student. His knowledge of pregnancy timelines and adoption procedures seemed too detailed for someone casually offering help. He even showed encrypted lists, codes that included babies' genders, birth dates, and locations, suggesting he was part of a larger, more organized network. At first, he cautiously pushed for legal adoption methods, but when pressed, he quickly shifted to illegal alternatives. His behavior became even more suspicious when he asked to touch the belly of the team member pretending to be pregnant, as if trying to confirm something. When questioned by the documentary crew, he denied being involved in any illegal activity, but the presence of those encrypted lists raised serious doubts. It's frustrating because prosecuting cases like this is incredibly difficult. Without hard evidence, it's tough to bring charges. Online interactions and coded messages leave investigators with little to work with, allowing many of these individuals to continue operating without facing real consequences. While the safety of the children is the central issue, the danger extends to the mothers as well. Many of the individuals who approach pregnant women online have motives that go beyond adoption. Vulnerable single mothers, often isolated and without resources, can fall prey to exploitation in multiple ways, financially, emotionally, and even sexually. A significant number of people are using the internet to exploit vulnerable pregnant women and minors. These predators often approach them under the guise of offering financial support or help, but in reality seek something far more sinister, such as sexual favors. For example, some individuals offer monetary compensation in exchange for sexual encounters, targeting pregnant women and girls who are in desperate situations. These girls are financially struggling, possibly pregnant and alone, and when someone approaches you offering money or a place to stay, for many this might feel like a lifeline. They target those who are most vulnerable, those who might feel they have no other option. The situation becomes even more dangerous when the target is a minor or someone isolated from any real support network. The production team of Unanswered Questions found one such predator who posed as a doctor that created an online chat room to counsel pregnant minors. However, his real intention was to engage in sexual relations with them in return for financial support. Over the course of 10 years, he claimed to have supported at least 4 minor pregnant girls. In the chat room, he even shared photos and videos of him having intercourse with them. When the man was approached by the production team, he denied any wrongdoing, saying the story was all made up for fun. But what about the photos and videos he shared in the group chat? We hear about these kinds of crimes in the news all the time, showing just how serious the issue is, even though we don't fully know the true extent. So why does this keep happening? One of the key reasons child trafficking and illegal adoptions continue is the relatively light punishment for these crimes. As long as the child is alive and not visibly harmed, the legal consequences are often minimal, allowing traffickers and predators to operate without much fear of serious repercussions. Single mothers, especially minors or those without a support system, often turn to the internet as a last resort to seek help. Many don't know about the legal options for adoption or the support services available to them, so they may mistakenly think illegal online adoption is their only choice. This makes them easy targets for traffickers. Once they realize their mistake, these mothers often feel guilt and worry for their child's future, but may not know how to fix the situation. Many express that they didn't know where to turn or how to follow the proper steps, simply because there wasn't enough information or support available to them. To break this cycle, there needs to be a system that gives vulnerable pregnant women, especially minors, access to legitimate resources. The government should be their first point of contact when they seek help online, not traffickers or predators. Clear information and easy access to resources would help these women make informed decisions without falling into dangerous situations. We also need to raise awareness about the seriousness of child trafficking and illegal adoptions, not just for the public, but to better support single mothers. By providing them with resources and guidance, we can help them feel empowered to raise their children or find safe alternatives, rather than turning to risky illegal solutions. In the end, the consequences of illegal adoptions and baby trafficking could be far more devastating than we can fully comprehend. These crimes put children at risk of unimaginable harm, with many potentially falling into dangerous environments where their well-being is not guaranteed. This is why preventing baby trafficking is so critical, because it's not just about the immediate crime, but about protecting innocent lives from futures we don't want to imagine. That is all for today. Thanks for watching.